and go to San
Oh,
Francisco and see Shayna's family and come back here, all without getting COVID. Now, I say all without getting COVID because I did get a nasty cold that has kept me down for 2 weeks. But after 3 tests, we know it's not COVID.
okay, okay.
Wow, good for you.
So that's
Hmm.
Hey,
okay. So
Eric,
I am
welcome.
just, there we
Glad to
go.
see you,
Hello,
Eric.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we have Randy coming in. That's wonderful.
Where's my mute?
Hi, Shauna.
We are
Donna?
we are live on the YouTube as well. So wave to everyone in YouTube land.
Oh, not in YouTube. Hi, Claudia. Hi,
So,
Randy.
Hi, Randy.
Hello, Eric. I don't think I know you, but hi, Eric.
Eric. All right. Look at this.
Beth-
It's a crowd.
yes, it is. It's wonderful to be with you. It feels like an age since we've been together as a congregation. And I know that a lot of people are struggling with different challenges. Most of all, we're hearing from outside of our own homes that the numbers have gone up, that there's a real concern for people's health. And sometimes one of the things that becomes axiomatic for us is that services is a opportunity for us to overcome fear. I know that that's a thing that we talk about in liturgy, but very seldom recognize when we come together. So while it's a joyous opportunity to see each other, be together, to be lifted by song and poetry, one of the things that we learn is that we need each other as human beings. As part of what it means to be together is to be able to share our experiences and overcome the fear. In our case, the fear is very real. There are issues of different people getting ill with the COVID and so forth. So let's lift up our hearts. Cantor, what's the song that you'll bring us into Shabbat?
Well, Rabbi, I'm feeling unoriginal this evening. So we'll do a little Hine Matov, and then we will welcome the Shabbat angels with Shalom Aleichem. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Lashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchen Shalom, Malachei Hashalom. shalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Well, I recommend singing songs. Every time we sing a song, we seem to be able to add one or two more people. Here I go. We're adding another person. We have a number of beautiful psalms that, in addition to Shalom Aleichem, allow us to welcome the Sabbath. Let's have one more song and see what we turn up. It's kind of like Las Vegas. Maybe Lonnie has some secrets she can tell us about how you build an internet congregation. Every time you sing, more people will show up. What psalm are we going to sing?
We will go to Psalm 96, and we will do
Can you-
Julie Silver's Shiru Ladonai.
You put that up for us on the
Maybe.
maybe.
Let me see if my PowerPoint has it. I didn't put all of the Psalms on the PowerPoint because I like seeing everybody's pretty faces here.
Oh, let me just check if they're pretty. I don't know. Yes, you're
Well,
right.
So,
Okay.
so I don't have that, but I think there's a rabbi on the other side of the camera from me who's putting the words into the chat.
The solemn.
Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Thank you. A lot of enthusiasm for the idea of singing a new song, which I hardly recommend after several weeks of. This is a new year that we've welcomed, and we seem to have some of the old patterns. So I think we need to dedicate ourselves to finding the new and the potentially positive and hopeful, without becoming apocalyptic. That is a challenge. I hear people saying, well, just this one more variant and we'll be over it. Indeed, I hope that's true. But I think that the most important thing for us to be able to say at this moment is maybe to reflect a little bit on the situation as we find it in the Torah portion. The Torah portion this week brings us right up to the edge of redemption. At this moment, we and the Torah readers of the world will read of the last plagues. We will read of all the struggles for liberty. We maybe will recall and internalize some of those struggles as part of our own struggle. The oppression of being home for this many months, the return to ordering food from the grocery store, getting up at 7 a.m., that kind of thing. All these things are a little bit of our Egypt, certainly a milder Egypt than many might imagine. But now we have the opportunity to focus as we read this week's Torah portion and to look over at the possibility with yearning of freedom again. So Cantor, this I think is a good opportunity for us to bless the candles, which we have not yet done. And do you have a set of candles that we can switch to?
I have a set of candles behind me, pre-lit, but they still have lots of life in them. And because I did such traditional stuff previously, sorry, my computer says that it's not sharing even though it is. So there we go. Can you see the screen share? Okay. We'll do a little bit of a different melody for the new secular year for the Sabbath candles. This is one that I learned from an amazing rabbi who is 15 feet away from me. And it's just really beautiful. It was also the sound check for those of you who were here early. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotam Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat Lai lai Ya la 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 Ya la 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 la. Methinks you are muted, Rabbi.
Let's recite the words on the left-hand side of the page. O source of light and truth, creator of eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary, this circle of friends, this circle of YouTube devotees, all who are in need, all who bring the suffering of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Amen.
We rise for the Baruch Hu, and I'm going to ask everyone that's able to do so as we turn to the Baruch Hu.
And I'll get us there in the Zoom just in a moment. We're going to go past a Lechado D, pay no attention. Adonai Amevora Baruch Adonai Amevorach
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. We continue with the blessings of acknowledging God's creation of the regular aspects of nature. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhma potech sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים. ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם, ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
Everlasting God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. We continue with Ahavat Olam, sung by the cantor.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו
Join together in the Shema, and invite everyone whose custom it is to rise as we recite the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kemol Malchuto Leolam Vahed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let's join together in the English, this wonderful prayer of holy dailiness. One of the, if we can have that back.
We're putting it back right now, Rabbi. There we go.
I know that people know this song in many versions, but I've always been impressed with the fact that this expression of love is the central part of our prayer service, and it doesn't speak of unusual and exceptional actions, but simply the everydayness of walking with children, teaching them by example, being present when we are in our homes, when we are in our work, to the power of what the words of the commandments are supposed to mean in our daily lives. Join me in the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus shall you remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. We continue with the prayers for leading into the celebration of the redemption, Michamocha, the redemption from slavery.
And we do not have a Michamocha slide this evening, but you can just close your eyes and imagine the joy of having crossed the Sea of Reeds and found freedom.
Thank you, Rabbi Shana, for demonstrating the proper attitude with dance moves. We will invite everybody else to emulate the idea of being happy at the possibility of freedom. I know that some people misunderstood the commandment. We're supposed to be God's chosen people, not God's frozen people. So thank you for that genuine joy. We turn to Vashamru, the prayer that admonishes us to observe the Sabbath as a covenant, an institution in our lives.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. I think you're back on mute, Rabbi.
We turn now to being heard. Welcome to our services. Yes, thank you for reminding me. We're going to turn to the next prayer that leads us into the Amidah.
We invite everyone who is able and or willing to please rise, in body, in spirit, or in both. Adonai sefetai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור הנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים אומרים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום, יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. I invite you to continue silently as I will scroll through the words of the Amidah, or just meditate and pray with words of your very own, from your very own heart.
We continue with the concluding words of the Amidah, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech ador lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech ador lechol hashalom. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
So friends, we are gathered this Shabbat evening, and we are reading from the safety of our homes, the Torah portion. The last three plagues, they set forth a series of annoyances and uncertainty, and then the final plague, the death of the first born. It is with a certain kind of solemnity that I read this year the story of the plagues. Normally I think we read these, we skip over them, we think about the meaning of the prayers. The classical question we ask is the question that seems to trouble us from the words of the Torah portion, that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And we ask the question of the fairness, if you can ask that in front of a tyrant. Is it fair that God hardened Pharaoh's heart just before the last plague, when he sends Moses away and he says, "You will see my face no more"? And then the final plague, the death of the firstborn. The sense that of finality and the sense of drama in this moment of prayer that begins with an attempt to confront Pharaoh. Go to Pharaoh and ask one more time, it says, for freedom, and Pharaoh can't hear the words. How many times in our own lives have we acted as not only the Pharaoh in our lives, harden our heart because we've gotten into a pattern of thinking that says, well, I can't try something new. I know this pattern. And as a friend of mine who I think is the person I see on the phone here, I used to say, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, failing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Every one of us who has experienced reversal in life is somehow confronted with the possibility that if they had shifted their attitude, the consequences of a closed heart would have made a difference. Nevertheless, we are, I think, confronted with far less dramatic examples in our life, but clearly one of the moments that we experienced a year ago in this country was in part the result of a person who had learned certain political lessons and then simply thought that they could double down and triple down. And while it occurs to people that somehow religion should be politically neutral, the juxtaposition of this week's Torah portion and its sadness at Pharaoh's inability to change and to see an opportunity to have a different outcome in the face of what we saw a year ago in our political system. And of course, we've had a whole year of punditry and we've had a whole year of explanation, and those people on the Republican side have developed all kinds of fantasies and fibs to explain it away. And those people on the left have become more convinced of the fact that a real danger was averted, even if not in the physical sense. The shock of the desecration of Congress has remained an image that reminds us of what pharaonic behavior in politics leads us to. Yes, we won the election. They stole the election over and over again. So what is all of this about? Is it simply that we, the Jews who have survived these thousands of years, are writing the history because we survived? After all, we have that other cynical part of ourselves that says, whoever survives writes the history, and we tell it from our point of view. I want to remind you that this book of Exodus is, before it is a religious document, or let's say at the same time that it is a religious document, it is a political document. And it is a political document that teaches us that redemption, while having a certain pyrotechnics that we could all wish for, from whatever political side we come from, does not happen that way. During these first 12 chapters that make up what we've read so far of Exodus, the reality is that everybody is in pain. Every time there's a plague, there's not relief, but more suffering. Every time there's a plague, the slaves, in some ways, are the ones who suffer it the most. Every time there seems to be something that would turn the tide, it's the slaves who suffer the consequences of this the most. Until in this very last moment, there is one plague that separates the people that are with Pharaoh from the people that are with the Israelites. And the tradition says that it was not only Jews who put the blood on the lentils that night, but lots of people that in the last minute had a change of heart and mind. The redemption of our people began really with kind of a whisper. It was a sad affair. 2 weeks ago, we read that some women got together. This whole revolution was a women's revolution of the lowest women, Pharaoh's mother, unnamed at this point, Moses' mother, and Moses' sister, who are able to enlist the help of the midwives. The tradition purposely makes the ethnicity of the midwives ambiguous. They're called in Hebrew Shifra and Pua, but to the classic Hebrew mind, when you hear the word Shifra and Pua, you should think of the classic American Jewish names, Tiffany and Bridget, Jewish names that we know from Eastern Europe of great vintage, i.e., something about the names tells us that Shifra and Pua are actually Egyptians who don't see anything but a baby. They don't see if the baby's a Jewish baby or an Egyptian baby. They ignore the orders. And the mother and the daughter that hide the boy. And finally, the most surprising pair of this feminist cabal is the daughter of Pharaoh, who rescues Moses, and her servant, who aids in the caper to hide Moses's identity. Now, that's the way real redemption begins. It doesn't begin with plagues and wonders. It begins really from below. I would argue that as a political document, it reminds us that this person who may have been raised in royalty lives in the wilderness, is not an insider, except through his formal education, and is able to stand in front of Pharaoh and demand freedom. All of this, I think, suggests that what Moses sees when he goes out and finally identifies with the Jewish people is not, I see some friends of mine from the Ashkenazi Galicia Brotherhood, but what I see is a phone that is errantly calling me in the middle of services. Turn it off. What we see is that Moses sees Achenu, Achi. I see my brothers. Moses's adoption of the point of view of the three groups of women is that he too begins to see people not in terms of their ethnicity or their politics or their labels, but as his brothers. And in fact, they are distrustful of him at first. They don't quite understand why he's involved. After all, he's dressed like an Egyptian, probably walks like an Egyptian, etc., etc. Nevertheless, this is the makings of the real revolution. So yes, we are summoned to Pharaoh, but it's not just the Pharaoh of politics, which seems to be pretty prevalent to me, but the Pharaoh that is inside of each one of us, that has been oppressing our lives with all the shoulds and should nots that have not allowed us to live in freedom. The message of freedom is one that is to be celebrated. It's to be read carefully. It's to be read as a text that reminds us of the importance of freedom, but that freedom is hard won. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. I wish us all that when we read this Torah portion next year, that we read it with a sense of, isn't history an interesting thing? Because it's living not only in ourselves, but it's living in our people. Shabbat Shalom. At this time, Cantor, I'd like us to recite a Mishnah Berach for our friends, and I'd like to invite people to share what I think is a fairly considerable list of names of people who are ill And if I call on you, will you unmute, please, and share the name of whoever it is that you're concerned about, and we'll add you to the Get Well list, add the name to the Get Well list. Madam President, can I call on you first?
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Another Karen, Annabelle, Jane, Izzy. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Polly?
My sisters Pat Sachs and Diane Warco.
Lonnie?
I'll just say for Rebecca, she's not feeling well, so hope she gets better tomorrow.
Good. Shauna? Okay. Randy? Okay. Sue Nevins? And is it, go ahead.
Jean Abravaya, and Sarah Zandel.
Okay. Is that guy Joel next to you? Does he have a name he wants to add since we're on that camera? Hey, Joel, Shabbos.
Hey, I'm good. Everybody's good.
Okay. Linda Leviton Powers Leviton.
Joyce Powers and Brian Silverman.
Thank you. Larry, would you like to add a name?
No, I have no one to add. Thank you.
Eric?
No one who's seriously ill. Thank you. Thanks.
Sherry?
Sarah McNamee. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy?
Thankfully, no, thank you.
Alan?
Yeah, thank you. Two people, friends of mine, both just had some heart procedures, Charles Berman and Pete Wilson.
The former governor?
No, not likely.
Okay. Claudia?
I have no names this evening.
Well, we'll say a prayer for you. You've been feeling a little bit under the weather. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Rabbi Shana?
We'll also add Michael Hyman, John Strain, Anna Sandell, Miriam Batlea.
Thank you. Let's see. Have I Denise? Would you like to share some names?
I think she might have stepped away just for a second.
Okay. Jerry? Hello? Okay.
Rabbi, if I could add another name,
Sure.
my cousin Julian Smith.
Thank you. Let me add my mother-in-law, Edith Balanoff, my cousin, Richard Atkins, and just a prayer of thanksgiving that 3 of the 4 Beliak in my older son's family had COVID, and they're recovering fine. Thank you. Adam, would you like to add a name of someone that you're concerned about? We're praying for people who have who are ill. Adam Jacobs. Not sure where the button is. Okay. Go ahead.
Allison for surgery and for Steve.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for being part of our service, and thank you for sharing your concerns. Dottie, did you want to share some names? You're going to have to unmute. You're still not unmuted, but thank you for. Try again.
I just got on, so I don't know what you're talking about yet.
Okay, we're sharing names.
How to do it.
We're sharing names of people who are ill, and this is a prayer that we're about to say, in which if you'd like to share the name of someone you're concerned about, this is an opportunity to do that.
Believe it or not, I don't even know one person who has COVID. I must be the only person who doesn't know anybody who has COVID.
Well, I'm glad that you are healthy, and the people you know are healthy as well. So let's join together as the cantor recites his names and leads us in the prayer.
I will add my mom Ellen, my father Steve, my sister Anna, Michael Hyman, Jerry Hyman, Rabbi Steve Robbins, and all of those who we know or who we don't, who maybe don't want their names out loud, who are in some place of ill health and please God soon a recovery. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha ve'imotenu, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu b'kor habracha ve'avotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Let me also add my thanks to those people who were aware that I was having some physical difficulties and contacted me and expressed their well wishes. I think I'm on the mend, so I appreciate those thoughts. We're going to recite the Aleinu, and again we invite people to rise as the Aleinu prayer is projected on our screens.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We join together, and if you would like to share the names of people who we're citing your site for, I know of a couple people who are reciting Kaddish, the prayer that we say on the anniversary of someone's passing. And I'm going to start with our president, if she'd like to share the name of her father.
Yes, my father, Louis Goodman.
Thank you. And Lonnie and Sue, would you like to share the name of your father?
We'd like to share the name of my dad, who this year is his 20th anniversary of his passing. Hi Steinberg, and he was one of the earliest members of Congregation Beth Ohr. And synagogue life was always very important to him. He was the president of his congregation a long time ago, and also the Jewish war veterans. And he was in the jungle of Houdini for 3 years during World War II. And as a father and as a grandfather, we remember him with great love, with warmth, and appreciation.
Thank you, Sue. Lonnie, would you going to let your sister have the last word on this?
Unmute.
Lonnie, you're muted.
There. Okay. No, I said for the humor of it, my father enjoyed a do-it-yourself life, as I called it. He, if mother was a dancer, if she wanted a dance studio, my father, fixed it for her. If he needed a room painted, he painted it himself. If you needed wallpaper in the bathroom or in the den, he had to wallpaper it himself. Did you want lottery tickets? He would have to walk a mile to the lottery store and be there within a half an hour of it closing. Otherwise, it could not be a winning ticket. And then the last thing, if you want fresh tomatoes, he'd started gardening 40, 50 years ago in the backyard. So it was drove my mother crazy. And oh yes, if there were leaves on the roof, my father had to go up on a ladder and knock those leaves down. So maybe that's what kept him young until 90 years of age. Thank you.
Thank you, Lonnie. That's a nice, very warm memory. So are there other names that are occasioned by the yahrzeit? We do want to mention Polly's daughter-in-law, Mika. We're still within the Shloshim from our perspective of her passing, and very much in sympathy with Polly's and Polly's family, and wishing good things for her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Other names of people? Linda Powers Leviton.
Bud Baldwin, and I guess, Hilton Silverman.
So I happen to know at least Hilton was a very important person in Lyndon's growing up life, and I met him a couple of times. Very important, influential, spiritual force. Any other people that we can recall? I saw Cantor, you had your hand up, but first, Sherry.
Both my grandmothers passed away in January. Esther Kaplan and Florence Paul. They both died at almost 102, different years apart, but they both died in January. I'm thinking of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Denise, did you want to share?
Yes, I just want to mention a very dear friend whose loss was much too soon, Angela Penny.
Thank you. Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, my former employer, Dr. Hugo Rosen, passed away last week.
Was at USC?
Yeah, he was actually the chair of the Department of Medicine at USC. So I'll be thinking of him during this prayer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other names, I'm going to turn it over to the cantor.
For my mom, Elaine Jacobs. I'm not sure if you're able to. And then for a good friend, for Gary Marcus.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
And I will just add, for sort of the world of culture, Sidney Poitier, who passed earlier today, a dear and amazing and elegant man, and the 6 people who tragically lost their lives a year ago yesterday. Officer Brian Sicknick, Ashley Babbitt, Kevin Greason, Benjamin Phillips, and Roseanne Boyland. I'm quite certain that 4 of those people I radically disagree with politically, but the loss of their lives is a tragedy for all of us, and I hold their families in my heart tonight. Please rise if you are able as we bring the words of the Mourner's Kaddish to the screen.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yomod divra chirutei. V'yamlich malchutei. B'chayei chon u'v'yomei chon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'agala v'zman kariv. Imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach. Leolam uleolmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach. Yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei Kudisha B'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiron v'yelma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei Adam. V'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who makes peace in the heavens make peace for all who seek peace and who are mourning, for all of humanity, for all of Israel. And let us say, Amen. We are going to hear a few announcements and greetings from our chairperson, and then we're going to have a song, and maybe people would like to visit for a few minutes. I know that some of you are also looking forward to having Shabbat dinner. Karen, there you are.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to those of you we haven't seen before. And welcome to those who don't come much. And of course, to all of us regulars, it is good to be together. So next Saturday morning will be Torah study. Because last week was New Year's Day, we did have Torah study, so we'll just move on, do next week. Then because also it's a long month with four Fridays. After next Friday, next Saturday morning, the 15th, then we'll be back on hiatus for 2 weeks and see you again at the beginning of February, the first Saturday, and you will, of course, get a notice of that.
Very good. Other announcements. Let me just share with you that I had a phone call today from Menachem Mirsky, who is returned from his studies in Israel. I know a number of you have been helpful in his efforts, and he is well. Technical difficulties with visas and health issues have brought him and his fiancée back early, and he sends regards. I just want to mention that on January 16th, I'll send a note. I'm participating in a program with a high school classmate of mine who is a woman by the name of Janie Curry, who is one of the political science experts on Central Europe and Eastern Europe. And we met at our 50th reunion not so long ago, and discovered that she had changed her name from Leftwich to Curry and become this world-renowned expert on the political processes that have taken place in Central and Eastern Europe. And she's going to do a program for a group called Jews for Peace, along with Marek Yazowski, who many of you have at least seen or heard about, who's the chair of Friends of Beit Polska, the group that Friends of Jewish Renewal supports. And we're going to be talking about the question, the three of us, what happened to Polish democracy? It's at noon. I'll send you a note. It is not sponsored by Beth Ohr. It is not sponsored by Friends of Jewish Renewal, but I thought it would be of interest to you, and we'll send you the notice, and you're welcome to join. I will say that this is a group that, while I know many of the people, I support some of their ideas, it is a little more left than some people are used to in their politics. So one should not be shocked, but they're well-meaning people, and they're interested in other political systems where democracy is struggling. So that's the reason for the invitation. Let me just add that we will be continuing with a number of programs that people have participated in through Friends of Jewish Renewal, and we'll send you notices about that. Some absolutely exciting programs, including the person who won the prize for Yad Vashem's most important history study, who is a friend of mine. We began studying together 45 years ago when I had my first sabbatical, and she's produced really what is the most important, not only book of history, but it is a groundbreaking study of what was the fate of Jews that went east to save their lives in the Soviet Union, and then came back through Poland, attempting to see if they could reestablish their lives. You'll find that as a very interesting study. And it's really the story of most of the survivors of the Holocaust. Most of them actually were not the people who came through the camps, but the people who actually were able to save themselves in the what was euphemistically called Stalin's paradise, which was a very difficult story. The name of her book, just so that everybody can run out and buy it, it's only I think it's $50, and it represents really a magnum opus. Is Survival on the Margins, the history of Polish Jews during World War II. So we'll let you know about that and other lighter topics, including the return of Neil Borowitz and a discussion of the difference between Polish klezmer and other forms of klezmer. So look forward to seeing all of you at some of these events. Song.
I didn't mean to strum the guitar too early.
Yeah, but good transition.
I'm playing you off. So I spent most of the last week trying to figure out how to end this, and there just aren't any good uplifting songs about attacks on democracy 1 year hence, or plagues or anything like that. So I thought I would return to an oldie but a goodie. I can never read this Torah portion without thinking of my own first and, yes, second-born children, Jonah and Eli, and this was written with them in mind. And Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom on your journey. May you be blessed on your journey. May you be blessed. May God bless and keep you always. May he hold you in his heart. May he fill you full of love and keep you safe when we're apart. May he bring you lots of laughter. May he wipe away your tears. May he fill you full of wonder and always help you face your fears. And on your journey, may you be blessed on your journey. May you be blessed on your journey. May you be blessed. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, my friends.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
We will say goodbye to the folks in YouTube land.